So my name's Dave Steele, I'm known as the Blind Poet and I am a proud patron of Henshaws. Today I'm here to talk about my children's book series, Austin's Amazing Adventures. I originally got the idea for this series when I read an article about 6 years ago featuring Julia Donaldson, the children's author who's done such books known as The Gruffalo and Stick Man and Room on a Broom. These are all books that I used to read with my children when they were younger, especially my young son Austin. So she did an article in a newspaper, and the article basically said there needs to be more children with disabilities featured in children's stories. And as soon as I read that article, I had this eureka moment. I just thought, oh my God, I absolutely agree with that statement. Children with disabilities and additional needs need to see themselves within the characters within children's stories. It's so they can feel seen and understood, and also other children, when they read these stories, they can see that these children are just like them. So as soon as I read that article, in one night I came up and formed this children's book series called Austin's Amazing Adventures. It's based on my son Austin, and in the book Austin is a young visually impaired boy going to a mainstream school, and it's about the interactions that he has, the challenges that he faces, the friends that he makes, and how his world is living as a young child with a challenge, a disability. Also within the stories we're going to have different characters that will come in with future books where we give representation to all the things you will see in any mainstream school that you go into. So when you walk into any school, there'll be children living with sight impairment, there'll be children living with hearing impairment, with mobility issues, maybe wheelchair users, there'll be children living with additional needs and things like autism and ADHD and lots of different challenges. So it's about giving representation through these stories for all those children. I'm proud that the first book came out last year on World Sight Day, and that's called The Big Test. And in The Big Test you see Austin for the first time. We set up his world as a young child losing his sight, and in the first book, The Big Test, he's about to set a spelling test, and his teacher realises that he's struggling to see the whiteboard. So she helps him learn Braille, they learn Braille together, and they face that challenge in just a really incredible way. Now all these stories are told in short poetic tales like Julia Donaldson books, and the second book, which has just been released a few weeks ago, is called The Unstoppable Duo. And in this story you see Austin meet a new friend. They hear there's going to be a new child starting at school that day, and they're all excited to see who it is, and in comes Josh, who is a young boy in a wheelchair. Austin thinks that Josh might struggle to settle in because, like him, he has different challenges, so he decides he's going to be the one to help him because he might be anxious or nervous. But what becomes apparent very quickly is Josh isn't any of these things. He's confident, he's cheeky, he's funny. And the second half of the book, Austin and Josh become the best of friends, the unstoppable duo, and in Josh's bedroom they use their imaginations to go off into the world of fantasy and become all these wonderful things. Now, accessibility with these books was so important to me. I wanted these books to be the most accessible books for everyone. So when I intended to start writing these, I had a plan in mind, and it took me a few years to kind of get it there. But now with the release of The Unstoppable Duo, I'm proud to say that these books are one of the most accessible children's book series in the world. There's a couple of reasons for that. They have large print, so people with low vision are able to read them nice and easy. They have a free audio version via a NaviLens code on the back of the book, and when you scan that, not only do you hear me reading the story, but you also hear me reading the image descriptions for the beautiful illustrations by Rebecca Price. The book also comes compatible with the Penfriend device. Now, for anyone that's not familiar with Penfriend, it's been around for years. It's predominantly a device that's used for labelling, for creating touch spots where you could label food or medicine. You touch a touch spot and then you can record whatever you want that information to say, but it can also read stories as well. So with the Penfriend device and Austin's Amazing Adventures partnering together, when you touch the top right hand page, you hear the story read out by myself, and when you touch the bottom left hand of the page, you hear the image descriptions for all the beautiful illustrations.
It was the first day back at school, and Austin felt just right.
though most of what he once could see had faded from his sight. Left image. A girl holds up her drawing, showing it to a boy with dark hair and glasses. Not only can you hear me reading the story, but if children want to record themselves reading the story, you're able to do that through the Penfriend device. And you can also get a grandparent and someone who, they want to hear their voice for many years to come reading the story as well. So it makes it fully adaptable. We are now able to produce for the first time a full Braille version of both The Big Test and Austen's Amazing Adventures, The Unstoppable Duo. So each book has Braille overlays throughout the story, which makes them fully accessible, and no other book series in the world has all these features in one place, and that is Austen's Amazing Adventures, The Big Test and The Unstoppable Duo.
Henshaws, Beyond Expectations. Our charity supports people living with sight loss and a range of disabilities to achieve their ambitions and live independent, fulfilled lives. Donate today at henshaws.org.uk/donate.